union busting campaign has been led by Howard Schultz, the multi-billionaire founder and director of Starbucks, who is with us this morning only under the threat of subpoena. Let us be clear about the nature of Starbucks' vicious anti-union efforts. The National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, has filed over 80 complaints against Starbucks for violating federal labor law. There have been over 500 unfair labor practice charges lodged against the company, and judges have found that Starbucks broke the law 130 times across 6 states since workers began organizing in the fall of 2021. Are you aware that NLRB judges have ruled that Starbucks violated federal labor law over 100 times during the past 18 months, far more than any other corporation in America?
Sir, Starbucks Coffee Company unequivocally, and let me set the tone for this very early on, has not broken the law.
Okay. Are you aware that on March 1st, 2023, an administrative law judge found Starbucks guilty of, quote, egregious and widespread misconduct, end quote, widespread coercive behavior, and showed, quote, a general disregard for the employees' fundamental rights, end quote, in a union organizing campaign that started in Buffalo, New York in 2021. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware that those are allegations. And
What's the
Congress
balls on
has
this
created
fucking
a
scumbag?
process
I don't mean to
that
talk over the video, but to have the Starbucks cup privilege toward the screen with the logo on the TV.
Folks, before
That's what they call
answering
product
the following
placement.
Yeah.
questions, let me remind you that federal law at 18 U.S. Code Section 1001 prohibits knowingly and willfully making any fraudulent statement.
I understand that.
Were you ever informed of or involved in a decision to fire a worker who was part of a union organizing drive?
I was not.
Were you ever informed of or involved in a decision to discipline a worker in any way who was part of a union organizing drive?
I was not.
Have you ever threatened, coerced, or intimidated a worker for supporting a union?
I've had conversations that could have been interpreted in a different way than I intended. That's up to the person who received the information that I spoke to him about.
Were you informed of or involved in the decision to withhold benefits from Starbucks workers in unionized stores, including higher pay and faster sick time accrual?
My understanding, when we created the benefits in May, 1 month after I returned as CEO, my understanding was under the law, we did not have the unilateral right to provide those benefits to employees who were interested in joining a union.
Well, look, you know, he unfortunately was lying through his teeth, and I tried to call him out as many times as I could.
He did a pretty good job. What really was infuriating, and I did appreciate Bernie calling this out, when he's told that a judge found you responsible for this, found you liable for this, and he's like, well, we didn't do that. Well, no, that's like somebody after a guilty verdict saying that they didn't do it. But no, actually you did, because that's what we said. That's what that means. That means you did it.
Bernie also asked him in that hearing, did you ever threaten or coerce, union employees? And he didn't even say no. He just said, I had conversation that may have been perceived a certain way, but
well, that's the smart legalistic answer, because you can't prove intent. If you got to build a case on trying to prove intent, you're almost always going to lose. Prosecutors generally won't even bring a case like that. So, he knows the law. He was very careful in those answers. It could have been construed that way.
Yeah.
Well, I am serving notice to each and every CEO of a major corporation in America and beyond that think they're going to get away with union busting. That is not going to happen. The buck stops with me, and I will be fighting on behalf of labor as long as I am alive, and maybe even after I die. I
think Bernie, did what is right in his wheelhouse. I mean, that's
well, that's
his thing,
Bernie at
you know?
his best.
Yeah, that's Bernie doing what he does. More notably, though, I mean, the reason I think this is really worth talking about is just what an utter demon Howard Schultz just revealed himself to be in those hearings, right? Like it's more an indictment of him.
Did you see when he started taking exception to being called a billionaire?
Billionaire. Well, that's what I posted in the private chat. If you guys want to play that, it's right there. It's in the private chat.
He took exception to that he qualifies as a billionaire? Or
no, what he said was he started
being
whining
used as a pejorative.
As a pejorative. He started whining. Yeah.
Because it is a pejorative. Because
this is hilarious. This is great. But this actually, I love how Bernie handled this. He handled this in true Bernie fashion by saying, all right, that's enough. You're out of time. No, he said you're out of time. He didn't even listen to the substance of what he was saying. And then Howard Schultz says, well, that's not fair. He says, no, it is fair. You've had a lot of time. He wasn't even listening to him bitching about, I earned all my money. He wasn't having it. Yeah, play this. This is great.
Okay. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. Let me finish. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. My parents never owned a home. I came from nothing. I thought my entire life was based on the achievement of the American dream. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me. And I've shared it constantly with the people of Starbucks.
It's great.
And so anyone who keeps labeling this billionaire thing,
Mr. Schultz, I don't mean to cut you off. We have time limits here. And you have the opportunity. I'm not cutting you off.
It's your moniker constantly is unfair.
No, it is not. You have had more time. I've been generous with the time. I'm sorry.
But Mr. Chairman.
We have a room full of people.
He's saying it's unfair that you're criticizing me for being a billionaire.
Okay.
And Bernie's saying, no, it's not unfair. You've had time to speak. Okay? Like he wasn't even addressing the substance of what he was saying.
Let me finish. I grew up in federal.
Great.
Oh my God.
These guys so great.
They really they're so oppressed. They've gone through so much. I work so hard to make sure my workers could only make $4.75 an hour so I can have a yacht the size of a small city in the south of France. Don't you understand?
What a scumbag. What an unbelievable scumbag.
Well, you know, I actually had this debate with a friend of mine who's more on the lib side, who keeps making the argument. Remember, this is kind of the point of view of PMCs. Like, well, Starbucks is the wrong company to do that with because they actually treat their workers really well. Now, I don't know if you saw, there was I forget her name. There was a congresswoman or a senator from Minnesota who questioned him, and she said, because he was making that point, we give very generous benefits. We already do all that. And she said, do you understand that people have a right to unionize in America? It's not a question of whether the company is good or not.
Right. Exactly.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.